Welcome to Things You Might Not Have Heard from the Conversation Project. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, your host for this jaunt through news from the Conversation Project, where we are your home for headline news, information, and pop culture references that are worth chatting about. And today, a lot of things worth chatting about, a lot of things that got missed in the big swath of news happening in the past weekend, including we have lots of football included, but not so much the big win or loss by the Bills last night, getting a shocker last night in the game in Sunday Night Football. And of course, the Mark Sanchez arrest after the assault. That's a whole big thing. And some other things that, oddly enough, are super Trump adjacent. But we do have the government shutdown and other Trump things as well, plus Bill Belichick in the coverage for college football, extra college football today. And K-pop Demon Hunters make their debut of sorts. Plus 10 stories total, 7 other stories for this morning show that we have here. It's morning because I'm producing this live at 5:30 a.m. Central Time in the morning on Monday morning. And for this 6th day of October, we're going to give you 10 stories from the past weekend, Friday up until this morning, that you deemed were conversational. You helped us pick these stories, so it's kind of your fault. We'll get into those in a moment. I want to remind you real quick that our website home is thisconversationproject.com. All the things you can do to help us out are there, including checking out past episodes, seeing our partnership sites, seeing more of our sponsor sites, and of course, checking out our sponsor that we're headlining today, which is, of course, Ground News, one of our biggest sponsors, one of our greater sponsors, longtime sponsor. Ground News will help you get your news in better form, and you get a great deal by using our affiliate link for getting to them. We'll talk about them in just a bit. Now, let's get into the main news, the big news, the good stuff for this Monday, the 6th of October for 2025. Not so much main news, but good news, but the showdown for the government shutdown is now being seen as nuclear because it's just that bad. The battle's heating up as federal jobs and grants will now face major cuts because we're not settled yet. Entering into day 6, the White House is threatening to have mass federal layoffs if talks remain going nowhere, escalating fears across agencies that rely on annual appropriations. Now, last week, I played the video with that Trump shared on his social media about Russ Vought being the Reaper, which of course got me demonetized. Thank you very much, folks. But we played the video, so you got the chance to see it. And now Ross Vought may actually get his wishes as the architect for Project 2025 and a man who wants to just basically destroy the government as it sits as at the moment. Energy officials warn nuclear oversight money could run out within days. Alarms being raised by NNSAF operations about the security of the nuclear arsenal and other things where people and money things are not going to work out. We talked about WIC running out of money right about now as ish. We talk about troops getting paid and not getting paid and going to deployments that don't really make much sense and not getting paid for that one. Grant making cultures and science and health and those things faces all sorts of clawbacks because you have to save money to pay folks that need to be paid. Programs like in Democratic-led states are being scrutinized, particularly on a broader scale, because Trump says I'm cutting the Democrats' blue state stuff because they're not working this one. Food banks, nonprofits have braced for a spike in need from unpaid workers who, of course, are furloughed right now, not getting any work done, not getting any money for anything. Means saving up money to pay the bills, means less on food. Markets and workforce groups are warning that permanent job cuts under the shutdown could actually outlast any eventual funding deal. Essentially, when you kill a bunch of jobs and just don't bring them back, those folks have to find work that doesn't exist, at least not in their pay range immediately. It's a big deal. Nuclear is the word being used right now because this is a serious operation. I have a picture of Jeffries and Johnson, the House leaders who are not talking to each other, at least not in proper terms. And when they're not basically making fun of each other, they're not getting stuff done. They're not doing the work they're supposed to be doing. Yes, guys, you need to do the work. This next story is evolving. It's changing. It's going back and forth in different ways. Now, Newsom is going to sue Trump and the administration, per se, over National Guard deployment to Oregon. Why is this an issue? California's governor wants to block Trump's order to send National Guard units to Oregon, which has been done right now. The judge terminally halted the deployment through October 19th, but he wants to make sure that it is officially done before a lawsuit. Court said that administration hadn't shown evidence of unrest and warranting federal troops undercutting the stated rationale. Now, Oregon is joining California in legal action, arguing that the move violates state authority over Guard units not federalized from national missions. What was supposed to happen was Donald Trump was supposed to federalize the Oregon National Guard and that was thrown out. And so Trump said he already organized and federalized the California National Guard, said he'll do that. And that's right now on a pause as well. Although, like I said, the lawsuit by Newsom is in gear to keep that from happening. The fight is on a flashpoint issue for federal overreach and state controlled public safety. Donald Trump is saying that Portland and Oregon itself is basically a war zone and needs our help, their help, to protect the federal buildings. He's saying federal buildings, but he's also saying murders and all those things as well. So the crime is so bad, we need to bring federal troops. That sounds like an overreach because it is. And so now the courts in the states are fighting this back one. Also, the big point is where the fight's coming from is from the blue states, not the red states. When federal troops or National Guard troops went into Memphis, there was no complaining about that from the red state governor, but the blue state city mayor was like, we really don't need this. Happening in Chicago, where now Trump is saying, oh yeah, we're going to Chicago, where they have a blue mayor and a blue governor. And that fight, of course, already in the courts. Border Patrol agents opened fire on a woman accused of ramming ICE vehicles in Chicago. Speaking of which, DHS said agents were boxed in by multiple cars near an ICE facility with one driver identified as a woman shot after agents reported seeing a firearm. Now, Reuters actually reported she later drove to the hospital. Federal officials linked the incident to confrontations and demonstrations, which demonstrations are legal, but things that put people in danger are not. Local coverage details hours-long clashes with many Chicagoans and ICE agents, including the injured woman who now faces charges tied to running a border control vehicle. That ramming of the vehicle is part of a crime. Getting shot was not, and so that's where the story gets really, really complicated. Illinois governor criticized federal militarization as tensions rose in immigrant neighborhoods. We had the story last week about the apartment building complex that was raided by ICE, where many people, American citizens, some of them black, some of them children, were essentially handcuffed, zip tied, and detained for hours to gain about access to 32 or so arrests, in which the argument was, well, we arrested 32 people, but hundreds more folks who did not need to be bothered were woken from their beds, held out in detention for a while, and had to deal with something that was ridiculous. Investigators will scrutinize use of force decisions and line items for protecting their folks and protecting the protesters as well, and what actually constitute criminal conduct going forward. I have to be honest. I didn't properly shuffle the news stories this morning when I would take a look at them. So that's why some of the bigger, wider, other stories aren't here. But we only get picked 10 stories. So it's really picking the ones that seem to impact. This is one you probably did not hear about because Donald Trump should be trying to get as many folks on his side, in his corner, in his purview for what's going on. But here's an issue where Trump is not backing a GOP governor candidate who's branded as too MAGA for many folks. Weeks after reporting inside, Trump has not endorsed GOP nominee Winsome Earl Sears, despite her outreach, leaving her campaign navigating a split screen with the former president. Because he's not there, they have to say she supports his ideals, not that the president supports her in her office run. Local outlets are framing Trump's Virginia visit around whether he'd finally weigh in. He didn't, feeling this a snub narrative. He stopped by, he said some words, but didn't say, I love the girl. She's going to make it happens. Democrats are amplifying the vacuum, saying that Sears is not what we need. Ties her to what the Republicans are doing, air quotes now, with federal layoffs and shutdown fallout, as polls show Democrat Abigail Spanberger is ahead of the race. So they want to push for some Spanberger and not for the opponent, the too MAGA-led Earl Sears. Now, conservative media attention has shifted from other things because instead of dealing with these directly and addressing it, they shift to other things and other Democratic scandal type things, further complicating endorsement calculus in what's going to happen. Here's the bottom line. Missing Trump's endorsement is a strategic headache for a bellwether race. They want to get this big win. Virginia is not just for lovers. It's a big deal for the United States and for politics. And Trump might want Virginia in a stronghold, especially having another red governor going forward. Allowing this to go to a blue governor because whatever reason he doesn't like the candidate. Maybe she's a DEI hire because she's a black woman. I don't know. It's interesting. But to cut off your nose, spite your face is something that the Trump administration does quite often in the goal to win, 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 and then have the people in this wake lose, lose, lose. There wasn't a good place to really put this story, so we're gonna put it at the tail end of the politics stuff, the Trump stuff here, because we split up to more entertainment and sports stuff on the back end. Now, hundreds of trekkers were rescued after deadly blizzards lift off the mountains of Everest in the Tibet region. It was a horrible terror situation, and that's just hundreds of people who have been rescued. There's still hundreds who are still waiting to get off the mountain. Chinese state media say hundreds were led to safety after sudden blizzards trapped trekkers on Everest's Tibetan side. On Sunday, yesterday, about 350 folks were reaching the Kwandong Township to make contact with 200 plus others who had been taken off the mountain. But storms have dumped usually heavy snow in the Himalayas in this region, which is usually a better region, usually better for weather and better for time. But this time, a perfect storm, pun intended, of rain, wind, cold, and snow popped up to strand people on the Tibetan side of the mountain. There are still just as many folks who are still trying to make their way slowly down as there are that have already been saved. Officials are tracking fatalities and missing persons as weather windows open for more evacuations. They believe most people are accounted for, but the people that are coming down are to getting their medical attention. They are trying to figure out what to do with the folks that are still up there and get as many folks down as possible. Tourism agencies are warning of volatile falls, trekking conditions, and all sorts of things in the region right now. So once people get off the mountain, it might not be a good time to go back up because of just conditions. Thank you for joining us for this jaunt through the news. 10 stories for this Monday. We'll do 8 stories for the rest of the weekday here. And we're going to give you these stories, and they come from you a lot. And literally, you in your receptions of various things we have, including what we call our feeds, our Facebook and our YouTube, our Facebook and our X feeds, are links there that we have posting on their news stories for you to engage in every day. As I said earlier, I didn't quite shuffle it well enough, so some of the bigger stories did not get put in there. The Mark Sanchez story did not be seen at the top as it probably should have. So we're interjecting here or there so you can look for it yourself. But we do need assistance from you just in general. We need more from you, and we know we ask you a lot, but the more we get of this, less I ask for direct funds and money and partnerships, which I will ask for anyway later on. We need you to like, share, and subscribe to the work we do here in the Conversation Project. This video here, particularly on X, on YouTube, on Facebook, like it so that the algorithms will show it to more people in the replays and, of course, in the live feeds. This is coming out to you live. Currently, it's 5:45 as I speak these words. Central Time. So if you're liking it and giving it hearts and giving it super stickers, it will show it to more folks in their feeds. That's something good to see. Or going forward in the replays going there. Share with like-minded people, because like-minded people would want to share your values, share your news loves, and get into what we're talking about. If I'm doing the right amount of news and commentary and speaking, that should see more likes. I'll do more of that one. You share it with more people, I'll do more of that. And if you're not getting this natively into your feeds, subscribe via YouTube, which is where we do our main counts. A great milestone. We hit 2,500 subscribers last week sometime. We're almost on the way to another 50 or so within a couple days, based on a great video we had that popped up on viral for us last week. So we're proud of that one. But we want to get that next hit of 2,600 fairly quickly, and you can help doing that by subscribing to the channel on YouTube. Subscribe on Facebook and X as well, and make sure you're following us on those feeds, and so you can help us pick out the stories that we talk about every single weekday and in our hot takes all time, all day, all night. It is time. The end of an era, the closing of all of the things, that being Rite Aid, who is closing all of its remaining stores nationwide after years of financial trouble. It's confirmed on its website that all stores are now closed after decades of business. The move follows restructuring and multiple bankruptcy filings, 2 in this year, that eroded its national footprint. Now, many of the stores over the last couple of years, the actual locations have been sold off to other pharmacies or just as real estate to other places. We have a pharmacy around the corner from my house that was a pharmacy that was sort of upstart, and then the building got sold because it went to a dental place because it was a nice building. Pharmacies are not doing as great as they could, with the big chain stores taking over a lot of their operations, plus now online pharmacy things as well. The customers are being redirected to transfer prescriptions to many places. Market by market, it depends where you're going. Many places are stepping up very obviously and saying, "Hey, we're ready to take your stuff here." Your CVSs are stepping up the games. Places like Walmart's and Targets as well. And of course, you'll probably get lots of online ads for the online places soon if you're in one of those markets where your Rite Aid is now gone. Analysts are pointing to opioid litigation, debt load, and competitive pressure as the long fuse for the shutdown of the entire company. Rite Aid is done. This is an issue where we're seeing whole industries and companies fold into each other to stay afloat, stay alive because we still need them. But the actual viability of making money has been an issue. Communities in pharmacy deserts could feel the sharpest service gaps. Most will find they'll be taken over in some cases by somebody who will find a way to make a little money off those places. But if it was a hard hit place and the Rite Aid was the only place you had to get to, you may have an issue for a while getting that medication properly. This picture gives loves to the U. That's the University of Miami as it hit number 2 in the rankings for the AP Top 25 behind Ohio State. Who drops out? Texas and Penn State. Now the jokes are allowed bound. The memes are all over the place. Arch Manning, the the starting quarterback at Texas, going from a first round draft pick guaranteed to maybe selling insurance fairly soon, are all over the place because Arch Manning and Texas are stinking up the place after doing so well last season. It's a SEC sort of miracle that they get a chance to sort of, live up to expectations or down to them, if you will, and deal with some mediocrity for a bit. I'm an SEC guy, so you get that. Meanwhile, the 10 and Penn State stumbling out after upset losses. First time both preseason top two have fell out the same week since 2022. That's historic, I guess. Miami State champs statement and Penn State's embarrassing loss at UCLA essentially made things a big deal. Texas Tech cracked the top 10 for the first time since 2028. SEC is leading the conference with 9 ranked teams. Half the teams are in the top 25 for AP. And of course, one of those teams is not Texas. Let's go to the ACC for a minute and deal with Bill Belichick, who's being dealt with by his fans as the North Carolina fan base are kind of tired of his stuff. 2-3 start and a 38-10 home loss to Clemson. Frustration is spilling over among the UNC fans and the boosters over the love they expected to get from a man like Bill Belichick, bringing his historic mind and his great offensive and defensive collateral and taking it to the college game, making the college kids like the pros. In the meantime, Belichick is urging patience in a message to Tar Heel fans, but the mood around Chapel Hill remains tense as they are really, really ready for basketball season right about now. Here's what may be the straw that's going to break camel's back soon. Viral clips are showing early exits from Kenan Stadium and pointing to critiques on social media on what they're seeing in their house, what they're seeing in their players, what they're seeing on their schedules. Not good football from what should be a good football coach. And maybe some of the reason behind why he's in the college ranks and at a school like North Carolina, not necessarily a contender versus playing another year or coaching another year in the NFL. Schedule is going to get tighter for here, and the pressure is going to be really big for a mid-season reset and, of course, conference play. The athletic department's insiders stress long-term culture builds over week-to-week noise. So, yeah, it takes a little while to get your players in, if you will. Something we're seeing here in Arkansas, where I live, where we just fired one coach because we actually hired back the other coach we liked, but we had to fire because of a scandal with sex and stuff like that. But we wanted him back, and he's in charge now, and we'll probably hire him back. Oh, I snuck in Bobby Petrino again, didn't I? I'm sorry. That happens. It's like a flashback. It's like a zone. It's like I'm in a trance or something. Bill Belichick not getting fired next week because they don't have a Bobby Petrino in the background. But we will see how much time he's given to make this thing happen. Will it be this year will suck and next year will get better? Will it be this year and next year will still suck? Will it be we'll get better now going forward so you'll love me again? Will his girlfriend make an appearance? We shall see. Your earworm for the morning is actually going to be K-pop Demon Hunters, and it's coming up just a bit. But you could put some preliminary ones with Run DMC and Down with the Kings as the King goes down. The Burger King, that is. They're finally going to retire the creepy and controversial mascot again for reals, to get him out of the way for certain. The creepy king mascot, the plastic-headed guy who's popped up as a way to fight Ronald McDonald and realize no, he actually scared kids more than Ronald McDonald, is being removed finally, citing family appeal and renewed focus on kid-friendly restaurants. The coverage details how the mascot's unsettling vibe drove families towards competitors. Playgrounds with the king's likeness and the commercials just for people out. In-store updates aim to win them back with something less, well, I can't see where I am. Well, that I guess I think of it this way. So roundups will trace up all the king's actual likenesses. He came about in 2004 and came back in after some cameos in 2011 because it got weird. Franchise chatter from industry outlets underscore the marketing course correction. They are happy about it. Nostalgia trickles in on social media, minus this mascot. So love for your Burger King. At least this guy is not coming back. Maybe the king, the guy dressed up in a costume from back in the 70s. Maybe they'll do that again. But the plastic headed guy that looks at you funny, he gone. And the first performance and surprise appearance of Golden by K-pop Demon Hunters, at least the ladies behind the K-pop Demon Hunters, happened on a performance on Saturday Night Live. Now, we should be talking about Bad Bunny telling folks to learn English because you're going to have to learn English. Ah, that was funny. Learn Spanish because you'll need it for the Super Bowl halftime show in 4 months. But the Netflix hit that brought people together and has all the people fluttered, and a very funny skit where Bad Bunny is talking to his friends who he hadn't seen in a couple of years, and all he can talk about, they're not talking about the big things. One girl says, "I'm on the Epstein list." Another person said she's selling drugs, and Bad Bunny can only talk about his love for the musical anime, and that is K-pop Demon Hunters. The live action version of it, where the singers Ajay, Audrey Nuna, and Ray Ami popped up into the Bad Bunny skit and performed Golden to basically save a character from a demon infestation from another character who played the evil demon with his song. Cameo doubled as a savvy soundtrack promotion with billions of streams and award pushes. Taylor sold a lot of albums this weekend, but guess what? I'm sure the K-pop Demon Hunter sold a few more extras this weekend. SNL leaned into the fandom tropes, turning it up to a daydream stage sequence into a thing that lit up social media feeds. People are recapping notes, the blink if you missed it tease of how it's done alongside the main number that was proposed at the end. Segment helps Netflix extend the film's cultural tale and fall events into sing-along screenings that will continue on as they go on. Now, not to be dismayed, let's talk very quickly, because we are, about Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift did make it some big news this weekend, of course, releasing the album we talked about last week, but her fandom movie open premiere, open party, that was a big deal, was the big hit of the movies this weekend as a 3-day event. It knocked out literally The Rock and his new movie where he plays a boxer, and had his most disappointing open with only $6 million total. I don't have the numbers for Taylor Swift. I think it was $120 million for the weekend, much bigger than the other thing. Obviously, it's a big deal. So there's that. But we're talking K-pop Demon Hunters who are finding a way to extend their lives in the lives of their jobs of fighting demons with their voices going soon. Thank you for being a part of what we do here. And we've wrapped up our news stories, 10 plus 3 or 4 extra ones we've popped in today. But I want to remind you that we need you to be better with your news, be better with us. And here's a way that it could happen. You can do your own research on news stories. We use Ground News extensively to check out on stories and check out on headlines, check out on things that seem a little odd, and sometimes see what's being covered between the ones and the twos. So we do this by checking them out for headline stories that we see on some of the fringer things or some things that kind of pop up in our odd feeds to see where it's coming from, see if there's a mainstream coverage of it, and see if there's a bias coverage, left, right bias, or whatever. And you can do that yourself by going to Ground News using our affiliate link. This is a conversationproject.com/ground news. This is a conversationproject.com/ground news. And you can see what the right, what the left, and what the center are basically trying to present to you in the news coverage. Now, if you go to that website link, you get 40% off their Vantage plans, which is cool. 40% off, and that will give you news for less than $10 a month. and you get access to their blind spot feature, which allows you to see stories that are being overly covered by one bent or the other, or get deeper details on some of the sources that are coming from them. Who actually is funding, what type of stories they write, and what is the sort of push they're doing back and forth. Ground News is your best way to get better news because it gives you a chance to see literally all the news from a local, a national, or a international perspective. And we give you a chance to get 40% off by using our affiliate link. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news to get yourself into that one. So get yourself in on the ground floor of great news, great coverage with Ground News. I want to remind you of where you can find us. Our website, home. This is conversationproject.com. Our email address, the conversation inbox at gmail.com. Our feeds, as we call them, our links on Facebook and X, facebook.com/this is a conversation project, and x.com/th_conversation. It's where we can find you. Follow us on the feeds. You can help pick out the stories, help engage in stories, and tell us which stories are worthy of chatting up, because this is a conversation. This is about stories you help us pick out to say are worthy of talking about, not just what's top of line headlines, even though we do that as well. This has been the Monday, October 6th, 2025 edition of Things You Might Have Heard. I am Jay Cleveland Payne. Thank you so much for being a part of the show with us today. Thank you for going through some of my rambling, some of my hiccups, some of what's going on. Let's just say it's been a weekend. It's been a morning, and will continue to be a morning, and more things coming. But do what you can to help us out. Continue to watch, share with other people. Consider being a partner. Go to our sponsor sites and consider checking out some sponsors, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. Love you. Mean it. Let's get out of here. Have a great Monday.